Have you ever wondered what your hands, heart, and intuition might reveal about your life? Welcome to Live Soul Readings, Hands, Hearts, and Higher Guidance with Cynthia Clark and Megan Brown. Each week, we explore meaningful themes, answer heartfelt questions, and offer live soul readings, intuitive messages, and higher guidance to bring greater clarity to your relationships, purpose, healing, and next steps. Want a chance to be featured live? Submit your hand photos and questions in advance. And join us every Saturday at 10 a.m. Arizona time. Because sometimes the guidance you've been seeking has been waiting for you all along.
Hello, spiritual friends, and welcome to today's show. I'm Cynthia Clark, and I'm here with Megan Brown, and we are talking this week about identity rupture. So this is a really interesting topic. It's so funny too, because this morning, Megan, I have to just tell you, I always do my tarot cards every morning too, by the way, everybody. And sometimes the cards will actually give me things to talk about based upon what I have coming up in my day. So I will be actually addressing that in our talk today. So,
oh, wow. So it's already warned you about your identity rupture.
It has. It's already telling me, oh, well, you need to talk about this.
Oh, okay. I like that.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I pulled this card out of the Osho Zen Tarot deck, which is a really, I consider it actually an advanced deck. Some decks are more intermediate and some decks are more beginner, just based upon the type of cards that you have and the explanations and how deep do they go. And anyway, I consider this deck a little more advanced. But anyway, the card that came up was the Six of Clouds. And it has this tyrant who is, he's got to like go conquer the world. And he has this burden of this is my burden and this is what I have to do. And he has this rooster sitting on top of his head. It's like the rooster's giving him directions. It's really hilarious.
Wow.
But that's how I kind of view this identity, right? We have this identity of what we think is our burden, what we think is our, I have to do this, or, we go through our day, our routine, our, the things that we take on, right? And then we think that is who we are. And that's actually not who you are. Because you have a soul. You have this much bigger aspect of who you are. So the reminder is, wow, what burdens am I carrying that I don't even need to carry, that they're not even mine, that there's just some silly rooster on top of my head telling me I have to do this.
Yeah, that is so on point. Like I'm writing about this in my book right now about having been conditioned by our lives is what you're talking about, because that's the identity rupture that needs to take place is like the soul, what you just mentioned, that is our go-to. And, I think for the most part, not everybody's taught that, and when I've explained soul, like what is a soul? It's an energy and it is our gut instinct or sixth sense. It's like we already know something. So it's always talking to us. And then, that conditioning in our life, the rooster is, you need to be this way. Because the roosters are very ornery at times. Okay. They tell you what it's going to be.
Totally. Yeah. They're very bossy.
Yeah. And so, where the chickens are like, hey, you showed up. How are you? I've got chickens and they've jumped on my head. So I can see the difference. But, it's like just allowing yourself to be your highest self, if you will, because your highest self is love. And that's the inner identity of who we each are. And it's so incredibly beautiful. So that rooster, you can just take him down and go play over there.
Exactly.
Myself.
Yeah, so I just thought that imagery was so perfect for our topic today.
I think so. But what do you think the clouds represent in that? I'm curious because I don't.
Well, the clouds, in how I look at clouds, are thoughts.
Okay.
Okay, so thoughts come in, and we think that those thoughts are something that is true, right? So, if, for example, if we take on a burden or an obligation, uh, you know, like anytime you ever say, I have to do this, or I must do this, or I should do this, okay, that's a judgment, right? And that may or may not be true, right? Sometimes the universe is expansive and has an infinite way of solving problems. And sometimes we just see that one little cloud or that thought as the only solution. And that's really when our personality can get in the way. So I always tell people, especially when they try to meditate, is think of your thoughts like clouds. They can drift in and then they can also drift out, right? So we don't need to be holding on to that belief system, and especially if you look at the underlying belief, like, why do you feel like you should or have to do something, right? Is it because you feel guilty? Is it because you have taken on someone else's obligation? What is the reason behind it is always a good thing to ask yourself.
I like that.
So anyway, when I look at it as well, I look at the hands, right? Because that's where I go for everything. Is the hands are going to reveal your soul's journey, that's in your fingerprints. They're also going to reveal that personality level, which is actually your hand shape. So your hand shape forms by the time you're about 5 or 6 years old. And that is going to mold your personality and how you interact as a human through the rest of your life. So I actually call it the sequence in the hero's journey, right? So everybody's on their own hero's journey. And where are you in that hero's journey? That's going to be what you claim as your identity. And so that's why the hand shape forms by that time that you're 6 years old. That's when the personality really gels and sets. So we have this other rule in hands called the Goldilocks rule. Okay, so we're going to have too much or too little of something. And where you are out of balance, or where that rooster is taking over your head, is going to show the imbalances in your life, right? So if you have too much of something or too little of something, then that's an imbalance, right? We want to come back to the center. And to do that, we have to really look at our lives and look at ourselves.
I like that.
So Megan, when you look at it, I know you have the perspective of heaven,
Yeah.
So how does heaven talk about the personality? Like, how do they see it?
It's interesting. When I think about it, I mean, when you asked me that question, I thought immediately about my life review. And as I was standing watching my life review, they don't miss a thing, by the way. And you watch every moment. And in those moments, you feel what you were feeling in that moment, and you hear what you were thinking in that moment. And so what I observed, what I found, because at first I felt like I was in it. And then I became the observer toward the end, because I understood that there was a bigger reason for this review. And it was me observing how I had adapted to feel safe, to fit in and be accepted, to live life according to what it was that I was taught. And what I noticed in heaven was that all of my guides that were standing there were absolutely unconditional love. So they didn't judge me on how I showed up in life. They didn't have questions to me, like pausing the video and saying, "Now, why'd you do that? Didn't you know any better by that age?" I didn't get any of that. So they allowed me. It's interesting that we're talking about this because I never thought about my life review like this before until today.
Oh, good. Yeah, this is fun.
Yeah, I mean, because really you see the identity of yourself in that life review. And what I also know now, without question, is the choices that I made then around what I thought my identity was, are different choices now, because I know the identity each one of us is as just this big, bright light that is our soul on this planet. And that light is the energy of love. That's who we are. And our identity, if we are going to advance as a species, has to really start narrowing in and seeking how to be love. And we can shift our identity. But what we have to do, thinking about this, is you have to rupture the old one and do it without judgment on yourself. There's no reason to judge yourself. Allow yourself to just be where you're at, and then you recognize something different. And you go, "Oh, that's not who I am." Okay, who are you right now? You're still the same soul. You're exactly the same, but now your mind is thinking differently and your choices are differently. That will help reshape what you currently think you know. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
That's
absolutely.
But they didn't judge. They didn't judge. That's the answer.
Yeah. Well, that's for sure. As we judge ourselves, we're coming out of our natural loving state, right? Because the soul is love. The world, the universe is infinitely, unconditionally loving. And yet our personality is going to judge everything, right? So if we strip away the judgment, if we strip away that identity, right? So whoever you thought you were, and recognizing the beautiful soul that's underneath all of that, then you can start to reconfigure yourself in a way that's more in alignment, right? So that's why, I love to look at the hands and look at, okay, well, what is your spot in the hero's journey? Because then we can see, what are the things that you're dealing with personality wise. And of course, we have free will too. So we want to bring our free will in so that it can align with the higher self, with the soul, and actually be less judgmental, be more compassionate, right? Like that. I like that word, compassionate. I think that's something that everybody could be a little bit better at, right? If we all just have compassion, what would that look like in the world?
Yeah, I like that. I was thinking about compassion yesterday or the day before. I think you're exactly right. And it reminds me, as I was standing next to God and he asked me, "Megan, do you have expectations of people?" And I said, "All the time." And he said, "Then you set yourself up for disappointment." So in that, it's almost like having expectations, there's an undercurrent of judgment because we're setting that person up in an energy field that they may not be able to show up in or as being, because they're not there yet. And how are we to have any expectations of someone without the judgment attached to it? Now, again, I've never thought about it like this before, Cynthia. This is a new way of viewing it, but I kind of makes sense to me. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, we just have this, especially as society, like you look at society. Society puts expectations on everything. And so, and we just accept it, right? As a little kid, I mean, you're born into just, picture yourself born into a family. That family, right? Your father and your mother both have their own personalities and their own expectations of things. Maybe they wanted a boy and you're born a girl. That my husband actually said that happened to him because he's the youngest of 4 boys, and his mother wanted a girl because she already had 3 boys. And so he actually had to grow up almost wishing like, oh, I should have been a girl, and they actually named him Patrick, but his mom was prepared to name him Patricia. Wow. if he would have been born a girl. So I think that's kind of interesting. So we're born into this, right? And then we have to deal with it, and our personality starts to develop around that. So then there's also the society beliefs, the religions, and, you have to go to church and you have to believe this, and this is the path and this is the only way to be. And so, I grew up Mormon, in Utah. And so for me, it was really strong of, well, you have to go to primary and you have to do this and that. And it was always like such a big to do, and overcoming that was challenging, right? Because you don't want to question the authorities like your parents, right? You don't want to tell them that they're wrong. But at what point do we do that?
Right. It's interesting listening to you share about that, because I grew up Roman Catholic. And so we had that strict, way of showing up in the church, how we should behave. I mean, it's no different than what you grew up with, except different titles, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting here is I'm thinking about karma now and reincarnation, and the identity rupture is like we receive our karmic pattern, the original, blueprint of it, through our parents and what we chose to be raised in. Then we have to learn somehow in our life that we have to break the identity of who they wanted us to be and get to who we really are, which is the energy of love. That's interesting, because it's like this life course, the parents and the church and the education programs and the, various religions, they all say, be this, be this, be this. And this is not a negation in any way. This is just fact. This is what we all, are raised in. Mm-hmm. And it's our job as the independent soul. However, I say independent only because we are embodied in one body, right? However, our soul is a part of the greatest light, the one light of love. And that's we are all one concept, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But as the driver or conductor of our body, because we are always moving in action in our thoughts, how we communicate and how we feel. This is all about, it's interesting. It's all about the identity and what we have been programmed with believing about ourselves. And we all decide, like in that independent stage of our lives, because we have various stages of independence, and we make this almost like a declaration. This isn't who I'm going to show up as anymore. This doesn't fit in how I feel. So it's like saying I've outgrown this need to be accepted in this category anymore.
Mm-hmm.
All over the place, but it all seemed like it wove back into the one identity.
Yeah. Yeah. And we have to question things, right? So we go through that veil of amnesia, right? When we come to Earth, we don't remember anything about our soul or who we really are, that big picture. You know, we have this little personality, this little baby that's developing. And then we spend the rest of our lives actually remembering and coming back to that remembrance of our true identity. And but sometimes, you know, some people can go through their whole lives and not remember, not connect to that. So, you know, they play the role of whatever it is that they were programmed to play. And then eventually we all go back home, right, to the other side. We transition, and then we get to do the life review and remember again, like, oh yeah, that's not who I am. So why not do it sooner than that, right? You can do a life review while you're alive. You don't have to have a near-death experience to have a life review.
Right. Oh, and that is so important that you just said that, because what that requires is that everybody holds themselves accountable for how they show up in their thoughts, how they show up in the day, how they interact with others. And that's a life review, is holding yourself accountable and without judgment. I always say without judgment, because why judge yourself? It's not about judgment. It's about observing the energy that you are choosing to use in one moment. Is it beneficial? Is it going to help build constructively something that someone else would want to align with and walk next to? Or is it going to push someone or others out of the way? Sometimes, I don't know. I think it's important that people think of themselves as accountable with
Yeah.
what you're saying.
Yeah, and I really want to empower people too. I want people to recognize that they have so much more power than they realize. You
Yes.
know, you may have this personality that's maybe not so pleasant, or this burden that you've taken on that maybe isn't the best, right?
Mhm.
And you may think, right, there's the cloud again, you may think that you don't have an option, or that you don't have another way of being.
Right.
And you do. The answer is that you do. You do have another way of looking at it, you know. And this is really where multidimensionality comes in too, because we are living in this really dualistic experience, right? This third density experience of, you know, it's either this or this, right? This or that. But what if both could be true at the same time? What if it's this and that, right? So have your personality, but also have your soul. And how can you merge those two together? How can you get them to be in harmony with each other as opposed to fighting each other? You know, and really embracing the positive aspects of who you are, the positive personality traits that you've developed, because I'm sure, I mean, everybody has positive traits. You know, how can you work with those to create your next chapter, whatever that looks like, right? And let go of the rest. It doesn't have to stay with you. If you don't like it anymore, if you don't want it anymore, let it go.
Yeah. And, you know, two things. One, accept it, because really you've already imprinted what's happened. Like, we can't erase our history, but I get what you're saying. The other thing that you're talking about and that you're pointing out here is the black and white. People live in black and white and make decisions as if it's black and white. A lot of people. I don't know what the stats are on that, but I know I was one of them. And what I was introduced to in my near-death experience was the gray of life. And in that gray is what you're talking about. It's like step into it, because there's more in here you just haven't touched yet. There's more, there's color in there, believe it or not. You just haven't identified it yet. And there are various ways of operating in any situation, and being more open to receiving in the gray matter part is like allowing yourself to learn more, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Because in that black and white frame of mind, it kind of strikes me as it's either or. And life is not like that. Life is beyond any border that we've put on it. Truly. I mean, that's what love is. And so I look at life as just being this one experience with love, and how we are going to walk with it, basically.
Exactly. Yeah. And it's just such an interesting topic, because most of the time we don't think about these things, right? We just accept them as this is how it is. So it's really important to start questioning things and asking yourself, who am I? Who have I accepted as being? And is this really who I want to be?
That is so important what you're saying. I mean, I can't tell you how many individuals that I've worked with who kind of get upset with themselves on some level, or upset with the reality up to that moment of their lives, as though it should have been different. They should have known better. They were of a certain age, and it should have been seen quicker. And the fact of the matter is that we receive this information when we receive it, because I look at it as a pitch, okay, of music that is being met in the moment when we understand it differently. It's like all of a sudden we've allowed ourselves to listen differently. Does that make sense what you're saying? I think it does.
Yes, I love that. Yeah, the music. I love connecting things to music as well, because you think of like the individual note, right? Like maybe like the piano note.
Yes.
And then we bring in the violin, we bring in the flute, we bring in the harp, and then pretty soon we have this symphony. But we can also have discordant harmonies as well, right? So if we don't have them playing together, then that's when we need to take a look at it, right? So everybody, welcome to the show. If you're just joining in, I'm Cynthia Clark. This is Megan Brown, and we are talking about identity rupture. We love to bring in topics every single week that are really designed to make you think a little bit more and make you recognize that you are so much more than just that personality. You have this beautiful soul, and we do soul readings here on the show. So if you want to be featured on the show, it's very easy. Just scan that QR code and you can just it'll give you the directions on how to submit your hands. So you can get your hands photos taken, and you can submit your question. We also welcome questions into the chat. So we are going to get to that here shortly. But we are really here for you to make progress in your life and to really tap into that soul level of your life. So we do have a question that came in this last week. And I'm going to bring up Kathleen's hands. All right. So Kathleen just asked the question of what do I need to know about myself? Okay, so given that we are talking about the identity rupture, let's just take a quick look at this. By the way, I've been reading hands for about 17 years, and Megan has been doing her heaven messages for about 18 years, I think. So quite a long time between the two of us. So anyway, here's the hand that we're looking at. Now, the first thing I notice about it is it looks like we have short fingers and a rectangular palm. So I was talking earlier about the hand shape and how the hand shape is going to show you where you are on your hero's journey. Okay, so this is definitely a fire hand. And the strong finger is actually the Apollo finger or the ring finger. So this is a Wheel of Fortune hand. Okay, so Wheel of Fortune is the number 10 card in the tarot deck. And so this is where you are in your hero's journey. Okay, so as a Wheel of Fortune, fire loves to be busy. Fire loves to burn. Fire loves to go in all the directions, hates limitations, hates restrictions, hates getting into ruts. So, and this is super creative energy as well. The Apollo finger or the ring finger, that is how you present yourself to the world. So there's a lot of creative juice that I see in this hand. Okay. There's also a really strong headline. Okay. The headline is the line in the middle part of the hand, and it's very, very long. Okay. So when I see a long, straight headline, that shows that you're very logical and you have what we call the octopus brain, which is somebody who really needs to challenge their thinking, and they have a lot of things going on in their head, and they just go over and over and over them again and again. So in terms of identity rupture, a couple of things come up immediately when I look at this hand. Number one is, are you doing something creative? And are you spending enough time doing what you love to do? Because fire is all about passion. And you've got a big thumb, which says you're capable of big things. Okay, thumb is willpower. And also looking at that headline, it's like, are you challenging your thoughts? If you've got some negative thoughts going on, you need to really get rid of them, right? You need to let them go. You need to reprogram them so that you're not constantly reliving the same negative thoughts over and over again, and bringing in some positive things to express yourself. All right, so that is the left hand. Let's just also take a quick look at the right hand. So yeah, the right hand, definitely big thumb, big outward set thumb too. So I love your strong willpower. You know, you really do have the capacity to overcome just about any challenge. Like that's a huge positive. And also, I would say this headline is really showing the ability to solve problems. So using your Wheel of Fortune energy to help solve problems for, I would say working with other creative types would be who you should work with. So people who don't necessarily see themselves as the way they really are, you can help them to see a different perspective. So that's really the gift that I see for you, Kathleen. So, and we'll have Megan tune in as well and see what she has to say.
Yeah, so I did say the prayer before we started today to get us connected. And the messages that I got around this individual are about building. The first prayer that I said, when I say it out loud, it got to the point where I call upon the crown chakra, which is right here at the top of the head. And when that word was said out loud, there was a little, it's not a disconnect, but I call it a glitch. So the word comes out, but it's like a stutter that happened. And so this individual is in their head thinking about the spiritual realm and articulating it with force, because I also felt this really strong energy in the or in saying the prayer. The next prayer that I say is always around protection and protecting the individual and myself as I'm connecting for them. And they're always protected by, I call on Archangel Michael. And this individual had absolutely perfect, clean, clear, strong protection in the prayer that I said. That's great. Then the next prayer that I always say is around love. And I am wishing that heaven channel through the individual the highest and holiest frequency of love that I know I have felt in my near-death experience, and that it is channeling through me, and that we're both connected to heaven. I'm not connected to that soul. I'm just the translator for heaven of what they want her to know. So what I got in that were these, like, it felt like 3 layers. And this had to do with, around going back to the saying the prayer out loud, had to do with the crown chakra, which indicates high vibration and spiritual work. It also indicates your connection, this individual's connection with heaven, and hearing, getting the downloads at that one area, which indicates the highest frequency of love. It comes through, but what they want her to know is that there are 3 layers in which this information she's trying to give to, in her business, is what I'm hearing, and clients, it's around love and literally placing it inside. And they're saying, don't overthink it, because that's also a part of the crown chakra, the little glitch. Don't overthink it, just apply it and allow it to work itself in. And if it needs to be shifted a little bit, you can always do that. You can always add or blend differently, but it's just about putting it in, placing it in, and you can do it in different variations. I'm hearing around instructional, like teach individuals how to align with this love, and giving them basically a written script is also what I'm hearing, because the written script will have word connection with the intention to help it develop. It's kind of like that fire energy you just mentioned. It's like blowing it open and going, all right, I'm going out there, and I'm going to put it through the words. I'm going to get them thinking about this. I'm going to help create new intentions around this individual's current foresight. And the other thing that I'm getting strongly is that there's also a relationship where this individual has such love in their life and a very attentive partner in life. And I'm getting marriage. So I'm getting that there's just this beautiful communion already happening, who will help actually articulate the messages that you want another to feel in your line of work. It's not about, sharing your private moments, but it's about touching upon the feelings that you receive in this communion, if you will, and how to help another receive that level of peace and acknowledgement in their own lives without having to look outward. It's like allowing the individual to see the power, like you were talking about earlier, Cynthia, the power that they have, and giving them the instructional of how to access this power within themselves. But it feels really, really good.
Yeah. definitely. Yeah, that was what I was getting to, is super competent and capable energy. So, all right. So we also are welcoming your questions in the chat. And it looks like we do have a question that just came in from It's Me, Namira. Yay. Thanks for being here and joining us today. And her question is, can I ask what my life purpose is? Okay, so by the way, when I read for life purpose, I would actually read your fingerprints, and your fingerprints form 5 months before birth. I would read all 10 of those fingerprints. So, in a longer reading, obviously that would be what we would look at. But for today, since I don't have your hands in front of me, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull a card from my palmistry tarot deck. Okay, so this is actually a deck that I created, and we'll just see what comes up. What's relating to your purpose that you need to know today. And then we can also have Megan tune in, and she'll give you a little nugget for the day for you to think of. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and shuffle, and we'll just see what comes up for you. All right. So your card is wow, this is like one of the best cards in the deck. This is the Universe card.
Wow.
Okay, looks like we just cut out for a second here. But we see a diamond on this card. We also see a fractal. We see all the colors of the rainbow. And so it looks to me like you are at a stage in your life where you can accomplish something that you've been working on. And this is a card of completion. This is a card of, really celebrating all that you've done up to this point. And I mean, it's a really awesome card. And it's also fire and earth energy. So fire representing your creative and your, all the things that you've already created right now. And earth is bringing it down into this body in this lifetime. So this is really a card to say, you know what? You need to be celebrating all that you've already done and all that you are. And it's also a transition card because it's saying you're completing one cycle and you're moving into another. So what do you want to do for your next chapter? Okay, so that is what I'm getting for you. Let's see what Megan has to say.
Okay, so I was closing my eyes because I had to say the prayer. So what I'm getting is that there's some unclarity going on. When I was saying the first prayer, it indicated not connecting in the sense that, oh, I wish I had an answer. I wish I understood. It's not that this individual is not deep. There's a lot of depth here, but there's uncertainty, which kind of goes with the question. But this, you should know that you're totally protected in everything that you're doing. And I'm getting to meditate or to just add in, they're showing me a journal, or maybe that's confirmation of what you've done or what you currently do. But I'm getting to document things. That's the word that I'm hearing, to document what it is that you're feeling. And then ask yourself in this documentation, like this is your own private class, you, yourself, and you, where you're going to sit down and say, what do I enjoy doing? And when you ask that question, just listen without any judgment whatsoever, and don't put any pressure on yourself. Just write what you hear. Just write it, because this is going to help develop into something, they're saying, bigger and broader. So the other thing is around love. The third prayer that I say is basically asking that you are that heaven is channeling through you as the highest and holiest frequency of love with me. What they want you to know is that you have so much love. I can see these hearts popping out, and I can see them in the pyramid because I always call in these same souls, and there are 9. And so when I see them, sometimes they'll show me just the face, sometimes they'll show me from here up, sometimes they'll show me their full figure. And in this case, I saw the whole body of them. And as they stood in unison, they were popping out green hearts and like these burgundy and red hearts. So I don't know what the color codes are around burgundy, but they want you to know that the green is around the healing, the magnification, they're saying, around the healing that you're doing and helping others with, because there are some things that you are currently trying to develop, and you're wanting, what I'm hearing is wanting to know what direction to take those into. And they're saying, ask and you shall receive. Like, seek the advice and you will receive it, is what I'm hearing, because it's there for you. And they can see the composition of yourself that's being applied into what it is that you're doing. And it's really quite beautiful. That's what I'm getting right now.
Yeah, I was going to say that burgundy color, what came up for me on that is the Earth Star chakra. So like your deep connection to the earth and how you chose to come here to earth, and you're connecting all of this into actually helping the earth heal as well. So that's the color that came up when, as soon as you said burgundy, I'm like, oh yeah, that's what that is. So
they're saying the richness of your soul. Yeah. I'm hearing that as well. Like there's just this beautiful depth is what I'm getting.
So thank you for your question. We hope that's helpful for you, Namira. Okay, so we also have another question coming in from Kalili. And this person says, hello, Megan and Cynthia. May I ask for a general reading about my purpose right now, too? I feel many changes, but so many directions at once. Would like to be closest to my higher self's direction. Okay, so yeah, we're going to definitely come up for you. And let's see what comes up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and pull a card as well. And we'll see what advice comes up for you. And yeah, you're welcome, Namira. Yeah. We're glad you could make it. Okay. So, Kalili. Okay, here's your purpose card coming up. We have the 3 of Earth. Okay, this is the zone of creativity. Okay, so what this card is all about is you are working on some things right now, is the message that I'm getting, and not to give up on those things. Okay, so it may feel like it's maybe not going as fast as you would like it to, or not, I'm getting the word expectation. So kind of like what we've been talking about this whole call about that identity rupture, recognizing that you are right on track as far as your timing. Be patient with yourself. Keep going. This is definitely definitely keep going in what you're doing. You're on the right track. And this is also a card of collaboration. You could bring in, anybody who supports you or somebody you can work with. They don't necessarily have to be doing the same thing that you're doing, but just somebody who can be a positive influence in your life. I feel like that is something that is available to you if you call it in, and you're on the right track. Let's see what Megan has to say.
I love that. Okay, so the first prayer that I said, it was strong. It was connecting you to heaven with me. And what I noticed is that it was clear, but it didn't include every part of the prayer. So 2 reasons. 1, because of time, I'm sure. But the other thing is they're saying right now that there's uncertainty. So uncertainty, but you're strong and you're you're committed to what it is that you're working on in life right now, is what I'm getting. The protection prayer, it felt good. It was strong. You're very protected in everything that you're doing. Now, the love prayer, this is where they show me the pyramid that I spoke about a few moments ago. And what they showed me is basically, so the top three is like from here up, and then the next three are from here up, and then the last three were from here up. So what's interesting about this is that you're in your head a lot. You see things, you look at things, you're focusing on things. You're really paying attention is also what I'm hearing. But they don't want you to stay in your head all the time. They want you to really allow yourself to step back and just feel, is what I'm hearing. Acknowledge what's going on inside of you. And it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what you want to acknowledge, but they are talking about in terms of relationships. So to feel more in terms of the relationships, allow that to help guide you in how to make decisions in whether you want this relationship to go on longer or further is totally up to you. But you'll know it if you allow yourself to feel it differently. So in other words, listen and allow to just be in it and in the presence of it, even if it's in your mind, but then step back from how you think it should be going or how you think it should end, in other words, or how this communication should come to a closure of some sort. And when I say end, it doesn't mean like it's going to go anywhere. This is totally up to you, but it is about finding some sort of closure is what I'm hearing around a relationship. But there's something specific here for you. And if that's something like, because I don't hear times normally, like 99% of the time, I don't get time. So maybe this is something that you've already been through. So this is confirmation for you. Maybe it's something you're currently going through. And maybe this is something for you to think about for the future, because when it presents itself, you can address it with this type of mindset. And basically you're peering into your life differently is what I'm getting the feel around that.
Yeah, lovely. And he says, I have wanted to learn to follow my body's guidance more than my head about relationships, for sure. Okay, well, very good. All right, so we hope that's helpful for you, Kalili. Thank you so much for submitting your questions for this week. So, okay, let's see. There's another comment here. I am used to deconstructing it and trying to apply logic and stoicism, but my body is always screaming at me. Yeah.
That's important, what was just said there. And let me just speak to that for a second, because my life, up until my near-death experience, I was trying to keep things in composure. I was trying to stay in an identity of my whoever they were, the churches, the parents, the family, all of them had constructed for me. And meanwhile, dealing with all of these different things in life, well, it wasn't feeling like, anything that anybody else could understand. And so what wound up happening to me, and for me and for everybody else now that I'm teaching, is that my body broke down. And my body said, it's like a network system of a computer, beep, 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 blow out, blow out, blow out. And then my body was like, no, you have to listen differently. So really take that to heart. Listen to your body. It is so incredibly important, because you're too busy when you're assessing things and, being in your head. It's like you're judging yourself. You just are. And, we've all been that. We've all done it. We all still do it. And it's something that we all continue to work through, but hear it differently and allow your body to register, okay, that tone, that music that your body is feeling or wanting to feel, allow it to feel it. And even if that literally means walking over and turning on, or your phone, whatever, computer, turn on some really like great Bach or Mozart, for the brain, where it's just this light feeling to help break down the heaviness that goes on sometimes. Just thought I'd interject.
All right. Well, perfect. Okay. So thank you, everybody, for submitting your questions. And you can just scan that QR code if you want to submit a question for next week. If you want me to look at your hands, that's how you would get your hands looked at. And we are going to wrap up for this week, talking about identity rupture. And is there any last closing thoughts you want to share, Megan?
Around identity rupture. Yes, as I think about that, it's really important to break the identity of who you think you are or who others have taught you to be. It's not about looking for something wrong within you. It's about just observing where you're at right now and noting it, and then giving yourself permission to receive more. In other words, more information. So when Jesus was asking me in heaven, is there something that you're still struggling with? What is it that you are still struggling with? And I said, yeah, all of this happened to me and all of this happened to me. And he said, okay, what if I were to tell you every experience in life is a child within you? What would you do to those children? And immediately, without hesitation, I said, evict them immediately. They're old enough and they can take care of themselves. So then he said, okay, well, we have more to talk about, in which we did. And then he asked me again, he says, now, knowing that every experience is a child within you, what would you do to those children? And he says, but keep in mind, those children are you. And in that moment, I went, oh, the mom of me stepped in. Like, I thought of my 4-year-old son, and I said, I would acknowledge them, I would listen to them, I would nurture them, and I would love them. So really, the identity is, think about every experience as a child within you that has helped shape what you know right now. And you're not going to get mad at a child, because a child doesn't know until it's taught. So to take the edge or the sting off of, I should have known better, I should have known by now, whatever it is, just allow this child to go, okay, here's where I'm at. Okay, this is who I know myself to be. And then you step in and be the parent to yourself. So you're not looking for anybody else's permission to be who you want to be. You're just not. Allow yourself to be the essence of who you really are and feel on the inside, because we all have this innate feeling, and we just have to give it a voice. But the only way to give that a voice, your inner self, is to give it permission to be itself.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I would just say that, taking a look at your life and looking at who you are, if you didn't have all those burdens, okay, so again, going back to the beginning of the show with the rooster on top of the head, if you could take that rooster off your head, and if you didn't have any of those restrictions in your life, who would you be? And who do you want to be? Those are the questions you can ask yourself moving forward, so that you can really be more in alignment with your soul. So by the way, next week, we are going to be talking about the light worker. Okay, so there is a lot of stigma around this term, light worker. And it's definitely, in our opinion, a way overused term. And it's one that is not really understood or fully understood. So we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to be taking your questions again next week. We definitely look forward to assisting you in your soul and your purpose. So until next time, have a beautiful week, everybody, and let's ascend together.
I love that.
All right.